Welcome to TVBS Meeting Room, where we tackle global issues with a view from Taiwan. I'm your host, Wenqi Yu. Today's guest is co-chair of Asia Society France, Duncan Clark. Duncan is an investor, a global citizen, and an author with decades of experience living and working in China. We'll ask Duncan to help us dissect France-China relations and beyond. So, what is the significance of Xi Jinping's visit to France, and what did both countries get out of this visit?
I think China wants to showcase its global initiative. So this is an attempt to show that in Europe, China is able to project its ideas and support trade because there's a lot of pressure to export, as we know, to Europe. But also, as you said, it's highlighting some differences within the European continent, which may be not by accident of this trip. And from the French perspective, I think President Macron is keen, almost more within the European context, to show that he's taking a leadership role, perhaps more than even any attempt to gain that much advantage with China.
Increasingly, we're seeing that Europeans are taking a stronger stance with China as well. So, on EVs for electronic vehicles, we're seeing that France, imports or used to import a lot of Chinese EVs, but it seems to be grow into a concern now. And why is that?
China is ahead in a number of important technologies, including battery technologies, EV, solar, the list goes on. Now, should we punish China for its advances, or should we, invest on our side? But then, if China has sewed up, supply chains and raw materials, etc., it's very hard. So, no, there is real concern, and so this is a systemic challenge.
Yeah.
And we know that Europeans have been a bit slow, frankly, to adopt. We don't see the same level of EV adoption here in Europe that we see in China.
So, how does the French public generally view China and Xi Jinping's visit?
I don't think this is so much at a negative at a personal level or a people level. At the political level, look, it's not a good situation, and Macron is trying to maintain some bottom line of communication, with some success.
Well, France is always a little bit different, and it's very proud of its different diplomacy than the US. And like you said, right, it's been that way for decades. So then what does that mean when the world seems to be trending in a more bipolar system led by the US and China? And France keeps saying, you cannot sort of be the US vessel state, but clearly it's also not on all the way to the China camp either. But what does that mean for France? What kind of diplomacy is trying to conduct itself?
Well, I mean, France is a permanent five member of the UN Security Council. So if you think about it, US and UK on one side, France, let's say, more on that side, but a bit more in the middle, and Russia and China on the others. France has even made some rather strident calls for putting boots on the ground in Ukraine if Russia makes major advances, which has surprised many people. But anyway,
Yeah,
France sees itself as a power still. But on the other hand, France is part of the European Union, and we have elections coming up, European elections, which will also, through the council, determine, the new van der Leyen. It may be van der Leyen, but it could be somebody else. So there's a lot of politicking going on within the European context right now. Look, this is a new great game. The old great game was, Russia, UK, and India, and so on. But now it's a much more complex global game, as you said, a multipolar game.